Howdy. This is part 3 of a multi-part series where I forced myself into a dissociative state. Part 1 and 2 should be linked up top, and if you don't want to see those, fuck you. As a quick recap, we have defeated every single mandatory boss in this game, including the final boss, and have the entire optional roster to tackle. Sorry, Demon King. I contacted the registry, and they gave me a hit list of the neighborhood's most wanted sex pests. It starts with Osiris, kingpin of the clothing optional kindergarten, and boy does he need to be put down. The good news is that there are only 30 great chuds halting my passage. Oh, wait, no, that's the bad news. The good news is that I'll have to kill pretty much all of them. Wait, fuck. Let's refer to the funny map gimmick for a jiffy, shall we? There is close by a bonfire, which I am thankful for, but this is it until I kill Osiris. The best I can do until then is open the shortcut door right by the entrance to the consumed garden. The train of thought departs the station, lest I be driven mad by being conscious the entire time. But before it leaves, it reminds me that I'll probably need moss clumps for the septic tank swimming lesson session downstairs. Like with my local Burger King, I shimmy under the cashier to initiate the bloodbath of employees in the back, because I know that they're hiding a human trafficking ring behind all that processed food. The initial strategy of sitting in a dark room and rotting away is very reminiscent of my current living situation, but I pulled a live leak and fell into the elevator shaft. You may now revel in my double-digit IQ plays, because there exists a sort of catwalk where I can strut my stuff to the chagrin of the onlookers below. I think I was catwalking at the local chimp sanctuary, because the spectators begin flinging their shit at me with shocking accuracy. Thankfully, I am allowed to aggro the bill collectors and remain mostly safe in this nook, where I have to position myself close to the chain to avoid projectiles, which is about as effective as using a magnet to avoid being punished with the coin sock. Shit stops dying, either because there's no more aggro or because they're stuck between trees that are actually well behaved. This forces me out into the real world, where I see this strange glowing orb, and a ceiling that seems to stretch on forever. The Estus Shard channels the essence of Shard as I unleash a torrent of brown upon my adversaries. This part is really boring, and I will be skipping it over a lot in this video, so just assume I have your best interests in mind when I skip shit. After consulting my horoscope, I envisioned the path I need to take to make it to the shortcut door, while avoiding the shit swamp. Merciful fate extends the stricken hand, and a path is presented before me. Now to actually open the door in question. By my estimate, 5 enemies are paying their due rent in this misplaced acid-looking house, which means they're relaxed and don't feel like killing each other. Yet. All it takes is to convince them all that a copy of Bloodborne 2 has been implanted inside one of them present. This guy misheard me and tries to prise my cheeks apart to get his hands on my gallbladder. A super awkward 1v1 inside a doorway on a bridge is enacted, and I use the remainder of my arrows to kill the last guy. Behind him were 3 squatters who very nearly ruined my life, but I am victorious nonetheless. They are slowly cast aside, and on the way back I assess the boss entrance. It's hard to tell because of the friendly trees, but there are only 2 or 3 enemies here, with one conveniently fully blocking the door. He scooches out this time, but that was probably a fluke, so I better make this count. My hope was to gain a few Estus charges during the fight to replenish my meager stock, because for some reason I'm awarded Estus by killing these minions. The cutscene reminds me that this arena is, in fact, cramped as fuck, and that's with an enemy the size of Osiris. Upon spawning in, I am shown that the arena is, in fact, the size of this boss, and upon euthanizing the kindergarten before me, I was shown that they can, in fact, spawn inside of me, damaging me and scaring me enough so that I fuck up the dodge on the next attack.
What the fuck?
No worries though, because the Doomer montage doesn't come just yet. Instead, I come back through the shortcut door, where I just wait for the trees to finish their battle royale and succeed in killing the dude blocking the boss gate. Oh yeah, and I embered up to improve my chances of surviving. Fuck off. This weirdo freak likes to pretend he cares about the kids under his management, but don't be fooled by him. He has them working the salt mines under Lothric, making use of their pliable bones and small stature. Once the Mafia goons have stopped spawning in, I can carry on with what I call the absolute procedure. I'll explain that when I feel like it, but for now I'll just say that it's by far the easiest, quickest, and safest way to destroy the walking HPV. Lothric's criminal underbelly has just seen its first casualty, and it's high time I target the middlemen of the operation. I never would have thought that a bunch of pixels on my rectangle of doom could elicit such a visceral response as it did here. As soon as I grasped the idea that I'd be returning to the untended graves, I could have sworn my heart rate increased some. Lo and behold, when I stepped foot in the accursed graveyard, my scrotum shrivels up, leaving me cold and alone in this awful place. Thankfully, I had the cursed technique edged into my cerebellum from being here for an entire working day, except this time I had a bow and arrow to aid my journey. I even go to take a leak while waiting for the orgy to cease, just like the good old days. However, I fucking hate the good old days, and would much rather push forward onto new life experiences. So instead of brazenly assaulting my neighbor, I methodically disassemble their social support structure and invite my lawyer so we can gang up and eliminate the threat, not before interrogating for further information regarding the drug mules caught up on the Lothric border. I seriously couldn't care about an honorable fight, especially here. in this arena. So me and the Swordmaster will partake in a sword fight. Unfortunately, Swordmaster finishes before me and must now eat the biscuit. Whatever, get me the fuck out of here please. Time for tactical espionage action to root out the distributors. If you can hear that construction noise, I really couldn't give a fuck. To gain entry to the Archdragon Peak, I must first make it to the dragon statue in Irithyll Dungeon. To gain access to that dragon statue, apparently I need to kill like 50 fucking enemies. This is comparatively easy. If you compare it to everything else I've experienced, it is. I have a spacious safe spot where I take my goddamn sweet ass time neutralizing the enemy. For the first time ever, this room isn't downright awful, and I'm referring to the base game too. I have no idea what the profaned coal does, but I take it anyway. And I wanted to rescue my wife, but she unfortunately was smushed during the onslaught. No. This is gonna be so bad, man. Yeah. If you don't know or forgot, I scaled the enemies. Yeah, I know. Because of that, there are 5 tiers that the enemies can be. Here's a chart showing the details. The enemies for this area are tier 4 scaled, which would be on par with Upper Lothric and the Consumed Garden, meaning I am one shot to pretty much every single attack, and every enemy has like 50,000 HP. The only way to take damage and survive is either due to acid diarrhea or being hit by a single projectile. Otherwise, it's nighty-night. I scurry up the cliffside and promptly shit myself. Twice. Thrice, but thankfully I'm granted an open bonfire for the preceding encounter. Upon speculation, one would assume that the general process for this fight is a non-factor. How the fuck do you plunge attack this guy? And even if you could, just fucking look at that. Even more distressing is that the arena is exactly the right width for the ballbuster, only it has variations in elevation for my displeasure. To note, this causes him to rapidly phase up and down through the entire y-axis, in a poor attempt to turn me into a sounding rod, which is successful on the first attempt after I'm bedazzled by his harem's bugged AI. I enact the first stage of grief, but it then reciprocates by showing me exactly the fuck shit I've gotten myself into. Fine, I'll take part in this fucking fight. Oh wait, my adversary doesn't actually want to take part in this fight at all. He's too busy getting dragged down to hell and bouncing back up in intervals of milliseconds. He stops doing this as long as he's kept in the central square at the top of the stairs. I can fight on this raised part by the bell, but eventually I am forced off of it to access other pustules. As for the square, if he doesn't ask crash, I obviously have to roll away. Especially during phase 2 where moves are long-winded and all-encompassing, and the acid diarrhea will kill me eventually. This won't stop me. Nothing will. The only thing that can stop me is myself and my stupidity. Oh wait. Alright you fucker, I'll start phase 2 right off the bat to stop your femboys from spawning in and prolonging this prostate prognosis. This, obviously, does not work because of this shit. Fuck this. Time for epic MLG win montage. Shoot balls, go over here, go downstairs, get hit, bomb the neighborhood. Now that we're separated, we... The second half of Archdragon Peak was obviously going to involve a ton of shooting. That was a given, so as I nervously walk through the first establishment and into the east wing on the way to the vending machine, I hold up my clubs so as to tank any bullshit coming at me, supplemented by my shield ring that operates at full HP. I am only able to enjoy myself at maximum paranoia. This is rewarded by a lovely safe spot, where I fling a couple dozen arrows while I play Clash of Clans in the other hand. The other couple of guys can easily be felled by having them fuck each other to death while I watch in the corner. I'm still a bit paranoid, so I swap out Flynn's ring for the sword ring for a slight damage increase, while maintaining the shield ring's protection. This motherfucker spawns in right as I climb the ladder, which causes me to formulate a plan to jump out my window within nanoseconds. Everything works out just fine, but like, you have to be prepared at all times. Again, bitches leave, and I move on, but the last guy is boring holes into the back of my hand, necessitating a mercy kill on the side of the road. Roadkill tastes pretty good, but I can taste the sweet nectar of victory just on the other side of this work safety violation. The inspector is here and he's pissed, which he communicates by vibrating rapidly along the y-axis purely to fuck with me on a level that convinces me that the government really is gang stalking me. After checking under my nails for cameras, a really fucking annoying encounter ensues, but I still have a way to go, namely through this here building. This here building unfortunately houses the most unlikely couple that invites me for dinner, but I'm not hungry for ass. Ricard really scares me, because I haven't had human contact in a few days, but unlike real life I don't know his damage output or HP. Thankfully a safe spot guarantees my asylum, allowing me to chuck some seasoning over yonder while Ricard, like, enters the sunken place or something in his little cock chair. Anyway, I stump the stump and tickle Rick, who apparently doesn't appreciate arrows in his mouth. Finally, the bonfire, I can fucking see it, but tragically, I acquire it, forcing me to continue playing this game. Thankfully, the nameless Greatwood is right there, but first I need to level my luck stat. Run invalid. It isn't strength only, and purchase some oversized toothpicks for the gap in my front teeth. I wasn't really worried about this fight, and neither should you be, but they are, by now, easy. And I don't just mean comparatively. While the only gripes I have are that the clouds in the arena kind of fuck with the hitboxes and there'll be 2 phases, it's pretty boring. So I'll let past me explain what I meant earlier. Now would be a good time to explain what I call the absolute procedure. It goes like this. First, you go for the left hand, then you go for the left leg, and then you do ring around the rosies, making sure to dodge into enemies before they can hit you, and then hit them with a dodge attack. Once they stop spawning, you then go for the elbow with a bow, and then you go for the testicles in the middle, and then you wait behind him while he does phase 2 transition and get his back with hits or bows, it doesn't really matter. You go ever so slightly in front of him, not close enough to get hit with the 100 millisecond zingers, but not far enough that he does a charge attack. In doing so, he will stand up, and when he does, you run as far away as you can, you run as close as you can to his right shoulder once he plummets, and hit his shoulder, and that should be it. Unless your damage sucks, then I don't really know what to tell you, man. And voila! Segment 1 complete. Now for segment 2 versus DLC. Oh man. This DLC is, and it's not even close, the worst experience I have ever had in any video game, ever. And I am not being hyperbolic, I genuinely cried a little bit at some parts. You've been warned. Let's first talk about the very essence of the environment of the snowfield. I can't fucking see a goddamn thing, which isn't very lucrative towards forming an efficient strategy or maintaining a stable mental state. You seriously can only see like 20 meters in any direction at best, and about 5 at worst, because fuck life. The entrance isn't even safe, because it takes about 5 minutes of shooting to fully clear before I set even a single foot into this Hatman realm. At least there's a bonfire after that. Second, the enemies, while we're talking about them. They are tier 4, and there are a lot. Like, so many, that I do not have enough arrows to clear them all out. Even if Greyrat was still around. Yeah, Greyrat is fucking nowhere to be found. He isn't in Firelink, and I haven't sinned apparently. I looked up his questline and he isn't anywhere he can be. His ashes aren't sitting anywhere they could be. He just became invisible. Third, the geography. The vast majority of Snowfield is narrow tunnels and valleys that are peppered with little outcroppings and ledges, and in some cases destructible cornices, which completely blind me and leave me vulnerable in the falling animation. Each of these problems would be manageable on their own, but of course, they are ever present, all at the same time. On this attempt, which took about 20 minutes to perform, I finally break through the blockade by the first cornice, where every possible route of escape is cock-blocked, and I die like a fucking rat in a fuse box. Now to develop a strategy. After about an hour of this, I develop a progression route that has like a 10% chance of working to clear out the first corner. I have to sprint by these motherfuckers and quickly squeeze myself into the prostate of this poor stranger, which causes the aforementioned gang to beat this guy to death in order to grant me safety underneath this specific tree. It's hard to remember which one it is between deaths, but this one is the one and only safe spot for the next, I don't know, eon. From here, I use my Bluetooth spears to very, very slowly open up the next portion before the cornice. By the way, a cornice is when a ledge builds up an overhang of snow. Now, hold on though. Before I can show you the next part, I have to die real quick. Yay! Okay, that's all mostly cleared. There's a guy on the floor, but by now the voices have returned and I don't care anymore. The closest route to the next bonfire is right through there on the left. Unfortunately, it has so many enemies in just that tiny corridor that my game noticeably lags. This is usually a good thing, but holy fuck. I wish I could personally scalp Miyazaki for adding that projectile attack. I can't fucking see it happening, so of course my Estus is basically 0 at this point. And yeah, there's some reload geometry right there, but it doesn't help shit. Over time, the enemies run out, and I have no other choice but to load the next round of enemies. In a panic, the cornice blinds me, and forces me to seek refuge in this outcropping, desperately, dodging the onslaught coming directly from my rectum. The environmental trees look me in the eye and say, fuck you, as they allow every single fucking enemy to dive bomb straight into my spleen. The Ashen One only has so many holes, and I inevitably burst at the seams. Fuck. Fuck it all. Why am I doing this? All hope was not lost. Actually it was, but I had another trick up my sleeve. You see, the first time I played this game I actually explored the painted world like you're supposed to, and decided that my last hope would be this section over here. I don't bother killing anything because it would probably benefit me more, just to run past everything while it was loading in. I do die a few times, but the reward is juicy indeed. Before me is a playpen of various sniping, baiting, and falling spots for me to try eke some enjoyment out of. Alas, there are residents of the last area still vying to fuck some ass, so I spend the first 5 minutes running for my life, like I'm the last girl in the Discord. When the dust settles, I scope out my options, with the obvious choice being the cliffside ruins as the staging grounds for my uprising. The ruling class are not happy with this, and so they try increasing my rent, to no avail, because I'm a homeless crackhead and don't need to pay for anything. Slowly I edge further and further, and in-game I make my way up to the incline to exterminate Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, angling my sights toward the final section before the bonfire. There are about 100 billion enemies in there, but the difference this time is that I have an entire hill full of ruins and pitfalls to make an effective escape. Yeah, I can't really shoot stuff with my arrows running out, but I'm fine with that. Every now and then some spanner clips through the debris and tries turning me into a tube of toothpaste that's about to run out, and I nervously 1v1 him while his friends onlook in awe and admiration as I fillet their comrade to death. They of course are shot to death by the one-man firing squad. The last guy I let him live, to carry on my ideology that will live on through him. This last guy in the gully, honestly I was just desperate and wanted this fuckhead area behind me. Suddenly, the cornice breaks, blinding me, sending me careening down the gorge, the pounding of cheeks becoming more distant, but not entirely gone, remaining a threat to my life and sanity as long as the screen shakes. I create some distance and slip down the boulders to the path below, begging for the slightest chance of making it to see some toes.
Yes, I'm free.
I need a ton of arrows after that, and because of what comes next, I see us go surf down to the Ariandel township, and immediately my balls get pulled through my ass. As punishment, I equip the very definition of greed and flog myself in a way that Daddy Ariandel would be envious. Fuck me for wanting fun. I try again, this time donning a truly ravishing looking hat, granting me the power to aggro and eliminate unforetold swaths of gooch goblins. Truly, this is so shit, man. The gameplay in question has achieved a status akin to being strapped to a wrecking ball and swung around at full tilt. I'm lucky enough only to get hit by the occasional projectile, but I look away in the hopes that the horrors well within my comprehension will go away. They don't. I can't aggro everything, and everything that is aggroed doesn't die. There are some stragglers easily dealt with, but the primary candidate for fuckwad of the century goes to this guy. Like before, he vibrates like fuck, and can only be shot every like 10 seconds. A bit like the red dragon encounter in Demon's Souls. This, right here, is the single most annoying 1v1 in this particular run. If I get close, he sinks into the ground and disappears, while still being able to kill me. Truly, an amazing 10 minutes of so-called gameplay. What he was occupying with his vast buttocks was the worst safe spot in the game. Like, it's a true safe spot, but I fucking hate it. For one, because I'm constantly scared of dying, and for another, the little river of shit can only fit 2 enemies at a time to kill each other. I was here for about 30 minutes. Another reason this safe spot sucks is that there is a CIA agent in my walls who likes to fist me while I walk down the hall. I have to walk down the hall to aggro more enemies, so I have no choice but to do so. I repeat this over and over for another 20 minutes until I start uncontrollably twitching, which is my clairvoyant ability telling me that something bad is about to happen. Oh, would you look at that? Huh. Honestly, I was glad. Instead of this shit, I went on to tend to the grave tender, and I wish I could show you how that went, but the video file just disappeared. I still have no idea where it went. All it left behind was the negative space of the void it has left behind in my soul, like an empty chair, or a gap in a photo. All that file has left behind is a number neither 0 or 2, but something in between. I assure you that the branches section was far easier than it is in the base game. And as for the fight, there was only one great wood. It was a very boring fight, because I didn't suffer at all, really, for the duration of it. I wish there was a montage for this part where I'm like, I'm fucked. Or am I? But I just repeat this section verbatim. Getting slightly less lucky here and there, but with more knowledge at my disposal. The agent in the walls has by now suffocated to death, and I turn the corner, finally. Thankfully, what greets me is a perfect safe spot while I just shoot shit until it dies. Riveting. All the way to the very last arrow. Sadly, some NPC nobody gives a fuck about dies in the skirmish. Oh no. Anyway, I get the bonfire and everything is great now. The bonfire room looked cozy before, but now look, some idiot has kicked in the door and it's cold as fuck. Remember all those enemies from before? Well, now they are all here and ready to perforate my colon. Lucky for me, I could just sit in the corner in the fetal position, since I can't even pretend to have any control over this situation. All I can do is wait and wait and wait and wait, and when the soul counter stops going up, I have to go outside to bait some more. Everything in the direct vicinity is now dead. That was 32 enemies in the span of about 10 minutes. Besides, now that my front porch has been cleared of bodies, I can step outside and breathe the fresh mold spores in the cold air. This little tower on the right needs some laxative action. What I really want is the path on the left side. But I am all out of laxatives. Eventually, whoever is there will scoot up to this tree, where they then reach the perfect range to spam projectiles at me. This requires running across the bridge over and over again, while either not looking and risking a fall, or looking and praying I'm not being hit with another volley. Up the way a bit are 2 more and I do that all again, which takes another half hour of constant brain rattling and screen shake. And now that the gridlock is relieved, I can see the path that I need to take. Within that there church is Wilhelm, or Willem, I forget his name, and as is commonly agreed upon, that NPC is pure cheeks. The baby gate is locked, so I have to scale the rooftops in pursuit of the correct path. Luckily, it's right there, but the graveyard and church fully load in and they're absolutely clarted. This is looking good though, since maybe the churchgoers can equip their sapons and show William what for. It's this part of the script now. First, make your way into the Ariandel Chapel, which should be extremely easy as seen here. Then take this bonfire and do whatever. Suck these toes or something. Then equip a dagger of any kind and stand beside the bonfire. Sprint up the ladder and pivot right as you input the action key. This cancels the animation. And as far as the game is concerned, I'm still on that ladder. This fucks with the fabric of reality and causes some interesting side effects. Sprint into this exact point on this door, and jump as soon as you start sliding. You see, the fabric of reality decomposes when presented with vertical collision, when the game thinks you're still on the ladder anyway. This is the real Hogwarts Legacy gameplay everyone's been asking for. It's actually a secret alternative path you can take in this DLC, but Miyazaki made it slightly awkward to access. Lucky for you, I just showed you. This part is quite simple really. You just jump down onto the staircase, then make your way up to this exact lantern and sit underneath it. You should be safe from any one-shot attacks here. The goal is to forge a path through the unholy amount of idle sods that stand in the way of the lever that opens the Ariandel boss fight. It isn't exactly easy, especially with the hidden setup. And also because instead of jumping into the staircase and opening the door, I repeatedly glitch myself. Intended game mechanic myself on the ladder, and it is quite annoying. Through piss, sweat, and piss, I part the Red Sea above the lever, though I don't have time to deliberate in this position because a ton of enemies wake up on my arrival, so I have to gun it straight to the lever and hope I got lucky. Usually I wasn't, but on the final attempt I opened the door that I should have opened like 30 minutes ago. But it didn't matter because I finally got to the lever, which also doesn't matter because this part I forgot to record. So here's a recreation of that.
I forgot to fucking record it.
You would think that this fight would be a very rare 3-phase Greatwood fight. No. Sister Fried's character model doesn't change like with the Abyss Watchers, meaning that there are only 2 phases as far as the game is concerned. To make it at least somewhat interesting, I summoned Gale for the phase 2 part, and absolutely not because I died twice in annoying ways and wanted to get this stupid area over with. I for real could have just let Gale solo this fight, but the guy doesn't go hollow for a reason. That reason being he doesn't have any thoughts to begin with. I was scared that there'd be 2 bosses in this room for this part, but Dr. Ariandel was excluded. Funny how Father Ariandel of Ariandel Chapel rules over the painted world of Ariandel. Next thing you're going to tell me is that the inventor of cornflakes is called John Kellogg. Gale has beef with the racketeering business that has been left unchecked by the Ariandel Mafia, but I don't have the heart to tell him that his lady's painting is a money laundering scheme. To spare him, I help him along like a good fellow undead to wrap up one of the worst parts of the run. These 2 bonfires look ridiculous until you realize that this one is just a portal to Dreg Heap, the precursive area to the Ringed City, the commonly agreed upon best area of this game. I have come to ruin that consensus. This hag spews unfettered lies at me, but she sells me 5 embers, of which I use none, so she's alright. What looms from below is as close as it gets to a blender in this post-industrial amalgamation of societies. It looks threatening, but is in reality extremely easy to deal with, by just standing up here and besetting the mob upon myself and cackling as they fall to their doom. The astute among you have already noticed that the souls awarded for killing the very first replacements in this DLC is 3,200. Yup, the fabled tier 5 enemy is what makes up the very first enemies of the Dreg Heap. What this could mean I absolve from my mind, because first I have to attend Sunday Mass, and like Sunday Mass, as soon as I try to free myself from the grasp of the old men, I suddenly feel my entire digestive tract get prolapsed and fed into my mouth like an Ouroboros. The first part is whatever. I wait like 2 minutes for these guys to slip on a giant banana peel, but I cannot do anything about this stupid fucking room until I drop myself right into the thick of it. Apparently dropping tilted means that enemies load and unload within centimeters between rooms. So for like 40 minutes I slowly develop a strategy where I jump off slightly to the right so that I'm not completely stuck in the grasp of the parish priest, and approach a hidden member in the back who has replaced one of the deep, who has a scripted event upon arrival. This means that one of the Great Woods wakes up and goes ham on his own kindred in an effort to squash me, meaning all I have to do is dodge his attacks alone while he low diffs the entire room from me. Like I said, this strategy took a long time to both formulate and to execute properly, but in the end I'm given enough space to 1v1 whichever Great Wood is beef with me, which take at least 2 extra minutes each due to being tier 5 scaled. To my dismay, there are not 1 or 3, but 2 AFKs in the doorway which have to die. Instead of making them kill each other in case they coordinate a projectile volley at me, I kill them separately, since they don't have a lot of HP due to their friends going nuts. When doing this area normally, I just sprint through at top speed, because of the angels trying to burn my retinas and the deep trying to drag me down to hell. But now, I have to play this as safe as physically possible, while my retinas burn and I get dragged down to the underworld anyway. At the very least, the vast majority of Great Woods are idle, but that doesn't stop them from totally blocking every important doorway. This church gets cleared at the cost of about 1 millimeter of my hairline per minute, and paves way for easily the single worst choke point in the entire run. Placed along the entire descending path are 20 brain rots, a horde of medical anomalies. Normally this wouldn't be that bad, but let's run through the reasons that this specific part makes me twitch. To get these guys to kill each other, I just have to get within melee range and then run away, because then they do attack animations forever until they die. This strategy is not possible, because there are countless tiny ledges that prevent my retreat. I tried the upper section where Patches is, but the same kind of obstruction is present. However, it is possible for a single dude to crawl up the incline and come face to face with me at this particular window, making it the only way to draw aggro for all 20 Branch Davidians. I couldn't give less of a fuck what happens to Patches here, so forget about him for now. While the little alcove is a nice boon bestowed unto me, I first have to make it safe to use, so I make use of my quickly diminishing stock of arrows to free up the Nutty Buddy Cave. These banisters make for a lovely little safe spot to do so, just barely within a radius of decent damage. It gets to the point that I need to switch to the crossbow for truly pitiful numbers, but I can't really complain. With that right side free of danger, I can start going nuts in the pigeonhole. Unfortunately, it is barely out of range for melee attacks, meaning I have to make do with what little artillery I have left. For reference, this attempt had now taken 50 minutes of constant tomfoolery. Because I hadn't been this far before, I didn't know how to address each puzzle with the best efficiency, so I was running unnecessarily low on supplies as time dragged on. One by one, the cultists tried to convince me to convert, but my resolve is steadfast. This is the source of the humans and drug trafficking on Lothric, this demented conglomeration of saps. But then, with the last one by the window gone, a terrible development makes itself seen. The last 3 are stuck behind a pillar at the bottom, who are not aggroed to me, and as discussed earlier, I have no way to retreat once I go down. Desperate, I look around for something, anything, that could allow me to make it past. There was no chance at all to run by them, even if I dodge, because their curvaceous forms are filling the environment. Grasping at twigs, I scour my inventory for anything at all that could get me out of this mess. Then, I see it. The alluring skull that I picked up in Undead Settlement. That's it. I can use the alluring skull to draw aggro and maybe run by. I line up the shot, praying to the goat for her blessings to let this work.
Fuck.
Astoundingly, they actually start spit roasting the alluring skull, permanently drawing aggro to me and eradicating the last threat before the drop to Earthen Peak. Whoever that one commenter was who mentioned alluring skulls, I'm sorry, I should have listened. They would have been extremely useful. With 2 of them now dead, I can comfortably 1v1 the last guy in the overlooking window to finally free up the drop. But fuck, there are more. I am 70 minutes into this now, and I don't have the time to argue on how to approach this. However, fortune has always favored the bold.
Get it. Yes!
In celebration, I level my fortune stat, run invalid, and tackle the final leg of the Dreg heap. There are no angels, but man, I wish there were, instead of by far the densest area so far in terms of enemies. While developing strategies, I try this cliff, which doesn't work, the little shack, which doesn't work, this raised part, which doesn't work. But at long last, I find this baiting spot, which doesn't work. Look, call me a bitch, step on me, whatever, but I had absolutely zero interest in spending another like 20 minutes waiting for everything to die in the swamp and then brave the winding branches above it, which doubtless house all kinds of war crimes. Instead, I used this very useful shortcut, which is so obvious and not buggy that I believe it to be intentional. Behold now the absolute maximum screen shake possible in Dark Souls 3. This was definitely the most brain damaging true safe spot in the run. Holy fuck. I don't think I even had to do that though, because I could just run up alongside the ruins and take the bonfire with literally no repercussions. What comes next is the second best arena for fighting Treeballs. Wide open space, lots of debris to get caught on, and tons of legroom to make myself scarce if anything goes wrong. To make this fight somewhat more notable, I kick off phase 2 immediately, which initiates the Demon Prince theme and lights up the arena. Neat. Yeah, it was super easy. Anyway, what is there a purpose to Here it is at last, the final area. Before not enjoying myself one more time, I strike up a little chit-chat with a fellow rent payer and take a look at this fucking section. I fucking call this fucking section because I fucking hate this fucking awful fucking shit. Fuck. Let's set up the insurmountable task before I lay down the epic solution. Most of these bitches are idle until I come up and say hi, which repulses them so bad that they leather me up the back of the head. The only feast beginning here has already begun, and it is solely upon my taint. If I get lucky, this one guy enters my safe spot, rendering it unsafe. I mean, at least there aren't any of those orange archers that normally ruin the view. Sure, I could just continue down the way, but look who invites himself. These two can do the same thing, but there is a blessed reload spot right on the stairs. With that done, I oil up and slip through some cheeks and into this most unnerving bonfire. Like, what the fuck is any of this? Progressing is relatively safe, but not easy, especially this little freak who waits for me to come underneath his balls so that he can teabag me. This part is... I'll just look at it. What the fuck can I even say? I never even bothered counting how many units exist here, but dude, goddamn. Now, for the swag money solution narration, I push through the entrance and pop my blicky on the teabagger sexual style and piss off everyone in the vicinity with the Mr. Beast burger, begging for my life on both knees as I'm constantly bombarded with grimace shakes. Oops, had one too many, now I've got type 2 diabetes and fucking melt. Feeling sane now, let's do that again, but oh wait! That's only like 5% of the metric distance to the next bonfire. Hard luck, buddy. Not to worry, silly viewer. Miyazaki himself created a secret shortcut to address these grievances. Wake up this exact guy and walk as far away as you can along the turrets until he falls off. Voila! All the Greatwood AIs are frozen. How? Who knows? Equip a dagger, sprint at the ladder, pivot, and then sprint at this wall before jumping. This grants you access to the secret area that Miyazaki intentionally forgot to complete, as it is a reflection on how his games are incomplete without swamp areas and detailed feet. Heal and jump off over here at this angle to land on a wall, then heal again before making haste towards the shortcut door and opening it. There you have it. I upgrade my bow and... fuck, fine. I'll do this area normally, just for you. Yeah, you. You know who you are. Past the vibrating mass is the Medir Bridge, where Medir has a little oopsie and slips off, as well as the Ringed Knight. Right here is Medir's boss room, where his posse is totally invincible until he wakes up. And while I totally don't lose to some farmer like a certain western nation, I make sure to enjoy another absolute procedure. And just a few meters past this is the shared grave area, a grand old time indeed. And below that are some idiots who trip over themselves to hurl their vast bulks into the abyss, because I play hard to get. Indeed, the deep swamp is next. A single one of these loading areas contains about 50 enemies, and there are such an enormous amount of trees that I can't even tell where I need to go. Yeah, I am glad that I did that intended progression route instead of going insane here. Alright, for this next part the challenge is no bows allowed. Melee only, since I've been relying on them a bit too much as of late. I wish the Painting Guardian came in and healed the guy. I wonder how that would have worked out. At the very least, not having a bow made an already annoying fight way more tedious. Not being able to hit the elbow meant I had to club his knuckles. This tiny, cramped ass arena took roughly 10 hours off of my maximum lifespan alone. 10 minutes of attempts sure felt a lot longer. Now onto an actual boss, arguably the best one in the series. And if you ask me, yeah, it is. I wanted to use my bow for this part because fuck you, it's more fun. The first pygmy has been transformed into a grotesque abomination, confirming my suspicions that these unholy ingrates have been partaking in the piss blood of the Peeling Church. Slave-knighted Greatwood surely can tell me where the source of this awful disease is located. It isn't just the pygmy in here with me. Some unknown addition has turned up. A threesome is fine, but 4 is a crowd, but that gives me an idea. I'll force them into their own threesome while I watch in the corner. As a perfect analogy of the entire run, I watch as they kill each other in their pursuit to part my cheeks, dodging haymakers and stomps, projectile attacks and charges. They don't really damage the main boss health bar, but having the other two eliminated is a great blessing indeed. I hide inside this church, where some unimportant NPC can spawn in while everything dies from afar, emerging from my room once my family members have left to have my portion of dinner. Alright, motherfucker. Let's bust it down. Absolute procedure style. Hand, leg, elbow, scrot, back, shoulder. The harem watches on in awe. I was almost sad that it ended so soon, but the game had another thing in store for me. This time it was the best thing it could have done. Existence is a fickle thing. There is hardship, failure, and despair, but there is beauty in that. Whatever hardship you are going through, someone has gone through the same, maybe even worse, and succeeded. Which means you can too. And if no one's been through it before, then you can be the first. The last thing Galewood told me was the source of the scourge on Lothric, the OG, the progenitor of balls, the one and only. Returning to a tier 1 scaled area shows that I've become a monumental force, felling foes within seconds with my max level bow and club. The dilapidated bridge section, which had once upon a time been an absolute no-go, gets mowed through within minutes. Even Hodrick is a side thought. I approach the Saint of Scrotum, and in his honor, and to make the fight a little more cinematic, I turn off the HUD. One more time. We do the absolute procedure for a quintessential finish. Because he's scaled so low, every pustule cracks under a single blow. Even after all the pain, I'm glad I scaled the enemies, to be honest. He's so weak and frail under my power that a single pustule is enough to end phase 2. Truly, this creature was pathetic from the beginning, in the face of the indomitable human spirit. Well then, off we go, to link the flame and burn this hellhole to ashes. The blaze should ensure that no Greatwood survives. Honestly, the last time I felt this somber about the game was when I first played it. It had been so long that a stupid video game made me feel so exhilarated, so defeated and rewarded, and royally fucked in the booty. I've gained an appreciation that I lost when it became too easy, especially for Treeballs. He's a genuinely good boss in my eyes now, and nobody can change my contrarian opinion. I even watched the credits, and I realize now that I'm not totally relieved that it's over. I'm a little sad, if anything, that I don't have an insurmountable goal to achieve whenever I get home.
I'm scratching my nuts while this plays, by the way.
Whatever the case, I'll make up some other delusional goal that I'll document whenever I get around to it. It won't be DS3, it might be DS2, but I'd rather do something a little more, lighthearted next. I don't really want to do another 3-parter right away, and honestly, the Dark Souls 1 videos are a trilogy on their own. Prepare yourselves for man.